This class is sponsored by Shimon Grant for the refuah shlema of his wife, Bereshit Felicie, Bat Simon. Thank you, Shimon.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We have read in the Alshech HaKadosh the comeuppance for the Nachash. We have just addressed the woman. And now we're going to address Adam Harishon and the upshot of his eating from the Eitz Hadat Tov Ra. So let's look at the Psukim. I am on Pasuk Yud Zayin in Perek Gimel in Bereshit. Ula Adam Amar, and to Adam, God said, Ki shamata l'kol ishtecha, because you listened to the voice of your wife. Vatochal min ha'etz asher tziviticha lemar, and you ate from the tree that I had told you, that I commanded you, saying, Lo tochal mimenu, you should not eat from it. Arura ha'adama ba'avarecha, the earth will be cursed because of you. Bi'itzavon tochalena, in sadness you will eat from it, kol yemei chayecha, all the days of your life. V'kotz v'dardar tatzmeach lach, and thorns and thistles will sprout forth for you. V'achaltes esev hasadeh, and you will eat the grass of the field. B'zeas apecha tochalechem, by the sweat of your brow you will eat bread. Ad shuvcha el hadama, until you return to the earth. Ki mimenu lekachta, from that which you were taken from. Ki afar ata, because you are dust. Ve'alafar tashuv, and you will return to the dust. There is so much going on here. So first of all, I just want to point out, okay, there are 3 verses here. And it sounds like all the same stuff, but if you pay attention, let's note here. Okay, first of all, God doesn't say because you ate from the tree that I told you not to. He said because you listened to your wife, which is what made you eat from the tree. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the first thing he says, because you did that, what happens? The earth now is cursed because of you. Huh. What? You want to curse the earth also? We'll get to that. But the direct response is the earth is cursed because of you. Now, in sadness, you will eat from it all the days of your life. So, number 1, through sadness, you will eat from it. We have to understand what that means. Aside from that, new verse. Thistles and thorns will sprout forth for you, and you will eat from the grass of the field. What does that mean? What's the grass of the field? And what is the significance of the kotz v'dardar? And then it says, by the sweat of your brow, you will eat bread. There's an extra issue of labor here. And there's an extra specific level of bread, right? And then that's combined with ad shuvcha la'adama, until you return to the earth. And God seems to be saying, meaning, because shuvcha la'adama, returning to the earth, seems to mean that you will die. Right? Because he continues and he says, because from the dust you were taken, into the dust you will return. So then, if it's both things are the same thing, why do we have to refer to both of them? Let it just say, and because you're dirt, you're going to go back to the dirt. What's the adama and the afar, and returning and returning? And, okay, so those are some of the questions. Beautiful. Here. Okay? Let's see what the Rav Moshe Alshech HaKadosh has to say. So, I am on page 50. The beginning of the piece on the right side. Ula Adam Amar. Actually, I should keep the verses open. Okay. Ra'oi lasim lev ala amro leimar. So first of all, what's fascinating is that there's another diuk that we left out. It says that because you listened to the voice of your wife and you ate from the tree, which I commanded to you, saying, Asher tziviticha, that I commanded you, saying, don't eat from it. So what's the lemar? Lemar always, classically, whenever it appears in the Chumash, it means that you're being told, instructed to give over a message. So the lemar here is extra. God's not saying, hey, I told you regarding this was, I'm quoting myself. This is a lemar, some sort of, maybe a reference to Adam having to give that over to his wife, and a failure of how he delivered that message. Let's see. Sheyira'eh bilti tzodek. So it seems unnecessary and incorrect to use this word lemar here. Ve'od, and further, ma pesha ha'aretz sheniskala lagam hi. what is the sin of the earth that she gets cursed here also? V'hine Rabbeinu Zal hutzrichu lomar shehu al shelo hotziu eitz shehu atzmo yihi anecha. So according to Chazal pick up right over here and they say, you know what? Why would the earth be cursed? Where do we see that the earth did anything wrong? So they immediately point to a discrepancy in what God instructed the earth to do on Yom Shlishi, and in the end what it actually did. And we addressed it over there. We said that there's two ways of learning, right? The fact that the Pasuk says that God said it should sprout forth an eitz pri ose pri, a double lashon of pri, that it is a fruit tree that bears fruit, meaning tam ha'etz ketam ha'pri, that the taste of the tree should be like the taste of the fruit, meaning that you should be able to eat the tree just like the fruit. But in the end, what did the earth produce? Eitz ose pri, a tree that produces fruit, meaning that the tree itself, it does not retain the taste or the edibility of the fruit in its own tree. Okay? So we talked about that, and we spoke about why maybe that was not necessarily a bad thing at the time, that there was different types of varieties of trees. There are trees that are used for shade and for lumber, and then there are trees that are used for fruit. And initially, according to one opinion, right, the earth, even the trees that were meant to be only for non-edible purposes, they also had fruit. Or we said that there was a breakdown here. There was something incorrect. And over here, Chazal are noting that perhaps the roots of what allowed Adam HaRishon to deviate from God's will was exhibited first in the Adamah itself, which he was taken from, because it deviated from her will and from his will. And therefore, Chazal are saying over here, what was the sin of the earth? Well, it must have been this. So we note that the Od, and further.
So is he suggesting that this is a punishment for the sin of the earth on day 3? Just
that seems to
punishment?
be. He says it's not delayed punishment, but rather when it came to roost, if it resulted in this, then it's appropriate to address that too. So that's the pshat of that Chazal, and he references it here. He's mentioning it, but he's still. I don't think we're done with this yet. Okay, so he says that v'hine Rabbeinu Zal. That's what they said, right? Ve'od, and further, mahi arirata. What is its curse? V'hine amar Rabbeinu Zal. So Chazal, they pick up on, they develop a little bit what God meant over here. Sheta'ale dvar marurim, that it'll sprout forth cursed things. That's what it means, that it'll be cursed. Not that it is actually cursed, but it will produce things like yitushim uparushim, mosquitoes and fleas, etc., etc. There's a meaning, it'll be cursed and it'll be a source of wretchedness for human experience. Okay, ve'od, and further, ba'amro, when the verse says, v'kotz v'dardar tatzmiach lach, that thorns and thistles should sprout forth for you, Adam, imhu sheyochlem ha'adam, is it meaning that he should eat them? K'moshe amar Rabbeinu Zal, like the Chachamim say, shehu al kundas va'achavios. Kundas and achavios are two varieties of plants that are edible, that are mentioned in the Gemara, that are very, very, very bitter, and they need to be cooked a lot in order to really be made edible. So if we're saying that it's referring to the things that are naturally inedible and they require great preparation in order to be finally eaten, lama lo hisker achila rak be'esav hasadeh? Why does the verse say later on, meaning if kotz v'dardar, that they should sprout forth for you, meaning in reference to food, in context of food, that you're meant to eat this, and that's what Chazal meant when they talked about these inedible things, they're like thorns and thistles, the edible kinds, then why later does it say, and that he will eat the esav hasadeh, the grass of the field? What does that mean? Ve'od, and further, amru b'zeat apecha, and then it says, through the sweat of your brow, you will eat bread. That's a reference to eating also, right? What's the significance of that? Halok lo kol adam ochlim b'zeat apam. And further, you're telling me that the destiny of man now is to eat bread only through the sweat of his brow, and yet, look around you, not everybody eats bread by the sweat of their brow. Ve'od, be'amro ad shuvcha el ha'adama. And then, when it says, until you return, all the days of your life, right? Till you return to the earth which you were taken from, because from the dust you came and the dust you will return to. Why does it say all this? Lama amar ba'arichot halaz. Why does it say with this extensive wording? Velo amar ad tamut. It should have just said till you die. V'gam amra, and also when the verse says ki mimena lukachta, from the earth that you have been taken from. Miyutar, it's extra because it already says. Right? It says because you came from the dirt, and the dirt you will. It's going to say and the dirt you will return to. Ve'od, and further, amaro. It says ki afarata, because you are dust. Imhu shemi afar naasa. If this means because you were made from dust, yaduahu, we know this. Ve'imhu sheka'etu afar. If it means that now you are dust, lochenu, it's not true. He's not dust. Ve'od. So what does it mean? What are we saying? You are dust. Ve'od, and another question, Lama Shina, why does it change? Kitchila Amar, in the beginning it says, Ad Shuvcha Adama, until you return to the Adama. The earth here is referred to as Adama. And later on it says, afterwards it says, because you are dust, and to the dust you will return. You will return to dust. Are you going to return to the earth or return to dust? Velo Amar, and you will return to the Adama, the land. Okay? Okay, a lot of questions.
Great questions.
Amnam, hine bepetach dvarav yitbarach, in the opening of God's words, blessed be He, kivein lidchot ta'anato shamar lo adam. He meant right there to refute the claim or the complaint that Adam had on God, which when he said, Ha'isha asher natati imadi. Remember, Adam Rishon says, it was the woman that you placed to me. You are responsible for her actions vis-a-vis me, and I followed her because I expected that, right? Only good would happen because you gave her to me. So, meaning you're responsible for this because it's her fault. So the Alshech HaKadosh is saying that this is directly addressing that issue. Shekala al shnei dvarim ka'amarenu lamala, it included, to combine two things, like our previous comments. Echad, the first one, sha'isha hayta siba. He's saying, it wasn't me, I did it because of the woman. She was the reason. Akol echad mehadrachim shekatavnu befeirusho, according to each of the different approaches that we talked about earlier, right? Either he's blaming her, and he's saying, God, this is your fault, this wretched woman, why couldn't you give me a good rebbitzin, right? Mm-hmm. Or does it mean, because you said, right, lo tov hiot adam levado, and she came to me with it, I felt it was necessary because it's because of your mandate that I should be with her, okay? So sheni... Secondly, ba'amro, he natna li min ha'etz. So later on it says, right? He says, excuse me. He says two things. He says, Aisha shenatati imadi, the woman that you placed imadi, to be with me, right? And then it says, he natna li min ha'etz. She's the one that gave me from the tree, meaning, I thought that every time you said, don't eat from it, I thought you meant that I couldn't pick it. But it was okay if the woman picked it off the tree. So she's the one that picked it min ha'etz from the tree, and she's the one that gave it to me, so it's okay. That was our way of understanding those words last time. Because when God had told Adam initially, twice he says, lo tochal mimeno, don't eat from it. Why is he saying from it? Meaning, don't eat directly from the tree. Don't be the one to take it from the tree to eat it. But if somebody hands it to you, that would be all right. Because on the day that you eat from it, Chashav, Adam thought, Adam thought erroneously that the main objection that God would have is from taking it directly from the tree itself. However, Ata now, he natna li min ha'etz. She's the one that took it from the tree. She gave it to me from the tree. V'lo lakachti ani mimeno. I'm not the one that took from it. Al kain. Therefore, God's saying, hey, buddy, I feel it needs to address this. Amar hu yitbarach. The Blessed One said, Al hata'ana rishana, referring to the first claim that it was because of the woman that you made this whole calculation. Ki shamata l'kol ishtecha. You listened to that which your wife told you. And that's why he says over there, saying, Lemar, Hamura B'tzivoy, when he says, I told you, which I commanded to you, saying, Vayitzav Havai Elokim al Adam Lemar. God commanded Adam regarding the tree, saying, and the lemar they're saying was to tell to Chava, Ki amro lemar hu miyutar, that's extra, ach kiven hu yitbarach lemanot et Adam shaliach lemar leisha tziva zeh gam hi. His role in hearing the commandment from God directly was to instruct and to set the mandate down, right? The chain of command meant to go from top down to Chava, and she was meant to accept that. He was responsible for maintaining her behavior regarding the tree. Ach, kiven hu yitbarach lemanot et Adam shaliach. He meant to appoint Adam as a messenger, as a representative, lemar, to say over, to instruct, and to give the message laisha to the woman. Tzivoy zeh, this commandment, gam hi, that she should also be included in it. Vizeu, and that's what the words of the verse are. Vayitzav, we are still here, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Vayitzav el ha'adam, and he commanded man, lemar, to say laisha to the woman. Ubezeh yomar lo, and through this, God is telling him now, Hine al kol habchinot asher titnatzel ba'amecha ki ha'isha siba ein lecha beit manos. All the various reasons that you would use here to save yourself, right? To apologize, right? Because by saying that the woman is the reason, ein lecha beit manos, you have no house of refuge, no escape. Ki halo hafachta kedera al pia, you have overturned the pot on its mouth, on its lips. Ki halo ani lihishamer mipia u lihishamer mikol zeh samti otcha mimuna alea al hadavar. In order, God says to Adam, in order to protect you from her words, and that you should be, right, that all of the whole situation should be precluded from this terrible situation, meaning that nobody should eat from anything they weren't supposed to. I placed you, Samti Otcha, I placed you, Mimuna Alea, appointed upon her, Al Hadavar. The chain of command was supposed to go from you to her, not vice versa. Shetisa Kal V'chomer Levilti Shemoa Eleha Ve'ich Nahafachta. That you should make a Kal V'chomer. A Kal V'chomer is a logical formula. When we say, if, do you remember this, Boaz, from the Gemara class? If this, then also, right? If Bobby is 5 years old and he can swing a bat and knock this ball out of the park, then Trey, who's his 20-year-old brother, can certainly hit a home run, right? If Bobby can do it, and Bobby is much smaller than Trey, then certainly Trey can do it, right? So there's a Kal V'chomer here. What's the Kal V'chomer? Shetisa Kal V'chomer Levilti Shemoa Eleha. If God told Adam not to eat from the tree, then certainly Chava should eat from the tree. Should not eat from the tree. Is that the Kal V'chomer here? I'm not sure what the Kal V'chomer is. The point over here is, though, that it should have been clear to Adam, and the fact that he was instructed and he was put in charge to tell her, then it doesn't make any sense for him. If she's meant to listen to God, then certainly he is, who was put in charge. So I believe that's the Kal V'chomer, meaning he is the responsible one to determine what. He can't say, well, she told me to. He was the one to make sure that she listened. He can't say that I didn't listen because she told me. Okay? Ve'ech nehafachta, how did you overturn everything? Ki b'makom shahaya lecha leimar la shelo tochal, in the place that you were meant to tell her not to eat, adirabba, just the opposite, you allowed her to tell you to eat. Ein tzarech leomar shelo manata ota. I don't have to tell you that you did not listen. You didn't stop her from eating. Ki im sheshamat Allah. Not only that, but you listened to her. Be'amra lach lecha shetochal. You listened to her when she told you to eat. It's a complete reversal of what was obviously intended.
Instead of her listening to you telling her not to eat,
you listen to her to eat. Right? It's absolutely reversed. So that's why the opening words, when God says, because you listened to your wife and you ate from the tree that I told you to tell over to her not to eat, meaning don't use her presenting you with the fruit as an excuse that you could eat. You were meant to make sure that she didn't eat, right. And you allowed her to let you eat. Drinking on the job on the first day. You ate because of her words. Bimkom, in place of Asher tziviticha leimar, that I commanded you to use your words to tell her not to eat, to make sure that lo tochal mimena, that she should not eat. You were meant to use your words to tell her not to eat. Instead, you allowed her to use her words to get you to eat. Vizeo amra leimar, and that's what the word leimar here is. That's what it's doing.
So he's not telling him that he should tell that over to somebody else. It's just
not again. He's referring to the fact that he did initially.
The original
right.
leimar.
Yes. V'gam hatana shniya. That's and now regarding the second complaint or claim that Adam had. Shediktek amro mimeno. He said, "No, I thought I couldn't eat directly from the tree, but I thought it was okay if somebody else picked it first." Okay, so regarding that, v'hu lo lakach min ha'etz. He didn't take from the tree. I bought it at the store. Gamzo ein ta'ana. This is not a reasonable complaint or claim. Shelo amarti lo tikach. God never said don't take. Rak lo tochal mimena. Don't eat from it. V'hu lomar samta libcha el amri mimena. You got fixated on my word from it. Shtei pa'amim, because I said twice from it. V'lo el amri achila shtei pa'amim, but you weren't at all focusing on eating, the word eating that I used twice. How convenient. I said lo tochal mimeno, ki biyom achalcha mimeno. Don't focus on lo tochal mimeno and ki biyom achalcha mimeno, but rather lo tochal mimeno and ki biyom achalcha mimeno. Focus on the verb eating that I was trying to impart upon you, as opposed to having all kinds of clever details that you got fixated on to the exclusion of the main point. Ki lo yale alev, it would not even be reasonable to occur to any heart. Shekavanati, that my intention was shelo te'anesh. Hey, I won't punish you, right? If you only eat it without taking from it. Shelo te'anesh im lo tiyeh noshech ve'ochel bepicha min ha'ilan. What you thought that I wouldn't punish you if you didn't actually bite
Noshech is what?
To bite. If you wouldn't bite and eat with your own mouth directly from the tree. Ki ein ze derech hanashim. That's not how people do things. Obviously, I meant like if you would be a human being and use your hands and pick from the tree. In fact, there's a nice contrast. If I'm right over here. If you look at later on where God says, "Hey, we got to get him out of here, lest he extend his hand and eat from the tree of life," and when he stations the angel with the sword, the rotating fiery sword. So the Rambam in Hilchot Tshuva makes a whole drasha, a whole hashkafic building based on the words that he will extend his hand and take from the tree. But the pasuk over there says specifically, lest he extend his hand and take from the tree and eat. It could have just said, lest he eat from the tree. Why is that? Over there it says, lest he extend his hand. But over here, Adam was saying, hey, I didn't extend my hand. And God says, come on, man, that's not how people behave. Right? So that's not derech anashim. That's not the way that people behave. So God says, nice try. However, you know, obviously, that I intended for you not to eat at all. Even if it was picked from the tree through the hands of another. And this is what the verse means with the words, Lo tochal mimeno, you should not eat from it. Okay, so now let's get back to the earth. What's going on with the earth? Val inyan ha'onesh, regarding punishment, the first words were Arura ha'adama, the earth, the land itself should be cursed. Yiyeh ha'inyan she'amar lo yitbarach. This is what God blessed be He is instructing, is sharing with Adam. Hine mitchila hayita Moshe b'chol habriot. Initially, you were intended and poised to rule over all of creation, all the various orders of creation, all the creatures. Domain, the mineral, vitzomeach, and the vegetable, ubal chai, and the animal. Ke'amro, like when the verse says, or dubit gatayam, right? You should descend into the depths of the ocean, right? And you will rule over all the fishes and all the flying creatures, fill up the earth, v'kivshua, and subjugate it, right? So that was the initial mandate for man, to assert his dominion over all the orders of creation, and through that they will all be united into one central point that would serve God. Now, there's no need for me to say that you're no longer capable of asserting any sort of superiority or subjugation over the animal class. Certainly even that which flourishes through the order of vegetation and the earth itself, which is hi hadomim, that's the minerals, right? Lo tir debam, you will have no ruling over them either. They will all have shlita, dominion over you.
So what is left?
Nothing. And that's why man can't get back into Gan Eden till he works on himself.
What, even at the sherets and there's
all
nothing
that
that he's ruling over?
Here's the thing. If all that had an element that was represented in the incorporated being of Adam, and Adam had the ability to uplift all those domains through those parts in himself. So now, by being corrupted, all those parts in himself are corrupted. If anything, they have to be protected from his ability to affect that. Just the opposite. Now it's a topsy-turvy world, and he's at their mercy. He's at the mercy of the elements now. He's been taken away from that special place. Okay, so, and we're describing now, right, that the Adama now has dominion over him, which is the lowest, least aware element of existence that has a physical representation. Okay, lo tir debam, he will not subjugate them, ki adama me'ala hayta motzia lecha kol ochel b'lo yagia. Because one of the manifestations of the initial arrangement that was meant to be between Adam and the Adama was that the Adama itself was to produce all the things that he needed to eat without any sort of labor. Meaning he did not have to engage the actual earth in development. He was not an agrarian. He was in a garden meant to benefit. It was a store. And his la'avdo u'lishamro, his engaging in the cultivating and protection that we use the verbs that God of the garden was la'avdo u'lishamro of the mitzvot, which was his own personal conduct, right? The positive mitzvot and the negative mitzvot. So I want to pause here, and I want to make a point now that we're going to start discussing it. Let's take a survey backwards. There were three players in this. There was the Nachash, there was the Isha, and there was the Adam. So now the Nachash is the character of his punishment was in his mobility, right, and his eating, and his relationship with man, meaning his status as an animal vis-a-vis human. Okay, that makes sense in addressing an animal with an animal existence. So the issues of the animal life is mobility and eating. Okay? Mm-hmm. The woman is, right, her punishment now is in terms of what it means to be a woman, which is the ability to bring forth a new generation and her relationship with man. It's her human relationship. That's her field of being, right? And that's how it affected her. Now, Adam, it's not that Adam has a flip side to this, that we would address similar things that we address with the issue with Adam. But what's interesting is we're addressing Adam's punishment is because in his domain, it embodies his relationship with the earth. Meaning, femininity was the issues with the Isha, and with masculinity, the introduction of the element of the earth is because it's part of Adam's domain. It's the domain where he's meant to be who he's meant to be. So if the mandate for Adam Rishon was to create dominion over his environment, to be able to bring it all to a higher purpose by engaging in the environment. And that was a metaphor really for la'avdo u'lishamro in the Gan, to engage in Torah and in the environment through a modality of mitzvot. So now the upshot of his fallen state will be vis-a-vis that environment. So the Adama here becomes, all of a sudden, is introduced as a character in the context of Adam because that's really the environment for which Adam is meant to be Adam. So I'm just pointing out the focus here that the Adama is not some sort of introduction of a new character now. There's a question of how does she fit in, and we can do that on the narrative level, but there's something deeper here in terms of thematically. Adam is Adam and his relationship to the Adama. All that is meant, even on a metaphorical level, all that you're meant to do in your life, whether it's bring about creatively, it's the coaxing, the engagement in your environment to coax forth the fruits or some sort of beautiful things that take the world further, right? So that is what's affected here in Adam's mitigated state.
So two questions. Firstly, surely the fact that we stamp on the head of the snake, doesn't that mean we have dominion over the snake?
No, it's an ongoing battle forever. It's not dominion, it's just conflict. It doesn't say that there's going to be dominion there. It says, just like he will stomp on your foot, you will bite his ankle. And it ends with the words, you will bite his ankle. It just means, that's a definition of the relationship between the Nachash and man. And it doesn't mean there's no dominion, because also if the Nachash represents your Yetzer Hara, that's an ongoing battle within yourself.
So it's a little bit like the battle between us and Amalek.
Dor.
Yeah.
In fact, excellent, it's the same exact thing. And I don't mean that it's parallel, I mean it's the same entity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And secondly...
but there were times historically that were given to us that we were meant to eradicate Amalek, and we could have done it.
Right.
And just like there were times historically that we were beyond the Zuamat Nachash, and we're meant to maintain it.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Very nice. So then the other question is that you have this being, Adam, who was brought into the world as the mechanism through which to bring Shefa from the heavens.
Well, I would say he wasn't put in to be the mechanism. The whole world was created for God to have a relationship with him, and the way of doing it, the setup was that he was given that role.
Right. And now in his fallen state, he's lower than all those elements.
Yeah.
How on earth is the fallen Adam going to get the strength to bring down the Shefa from the world?
So that is an excellent question, and that is something that we can address when we talk about leaving Gan Eden and the fiery sword. But I will just tell you that you're already hinting on, I'll give you a sneak preview, because I don't know how far we'll get today, the difference between the Adamah and the Afar that we asked. The Adamah does not mean the dirt, that Adam returns to dirt. It means the land that he was taken from, Gan Eden, till he returns. So there's already, and remember that the Alshech HaKadosh already said by the essay of Vatipakachna et Einei Shnehem, that God gave him extra grace that he shouldn't be lost forever, so that out of concern for Mashiach, because Adam is Adam David Mashiach. We mentioned already that God put a limit to how far this can be. He put a back door. But don't forget that all this is the setup anyway, because the true mission of man is to come out from a fallen state and finally achieve Gan Eden, even from a fallen state. So remember, that has to be possible, because there's that element, right? So don't get nervous yet. Don't give up hope. Okay, we can address these things, but that's okay.
There's another question here on the YouTube.
Definitely, okay. It's more like a comment, I think. It sounds like Adam and Eve were the first defense attorneys. So I just want to say that if you note, the Nachash was never given a question, and he never got a chance to say anything, because with the Nachash, the whole key is not to let him say anything. but by Adam and Eve, yes, God actually asked them what happened, and they were allowed to express their dissonance from reality, so God could correct that in giving them their tikkun here. Okay, but there's an element of, it's like a child. I was just thinking before that comment, God saying, listen, you said, you thought I was only not supposed to, come on, like God feels it necessary. It's like a child who's caught and he's coming up with defenses for the purpose of defense. He knows that ultimately he just didn't do what he was supposed to, right? So, and God yet still has to address his claims that are not true.
But it's interesting that the punishment is dependent on the defense.
Yes, because, perfect. So this is not really a defense. This is not extra, this is not a drama, a play of what happened dialogue. Exactly. Excellent point. This is the true point. The true point here, Shlomo is pointing out, is that in their reaction, through their fallen state, it is a statement, an autobiographical statement of, like I'm saying, their dissonance, where they are vis-a-vis their world. How they justify post facto shows where they've been corrupted, and that's what demands, it's these words that demand God's specific prescription for the rectification.
You know, it's
Excellent point.
incredible because for all those who are listening to this, you must please listen to Elio Pereira's shir just before here, because it ties into this idea
Which one
perfectly.
is that? What's the...
The Yamim Darkechem, where he talks about God giving us different emotions in order to rectify a dissidence.
Okay, so it's after Midot in the Biyam Darkecha? You did
Yeah.
Midot already?
That's what he was doing.
Okay. So everybody is word to the wise if you want to pursue this for further reading and a development of this idea in a practical way, which ultimately is what we're meant to do in our service of God, and understand from the dream language to practical living. Please refer to Elio Pereira's shiur given today on Yom Shlishi of Parshat Shemot, Tafshin Pedaled, on the Biyam Darkecha Amidot. Okay, so that was kind of like just a contextual discussion of here the import, the Adama. Don't see it as another detail in the story, but rather a contextual issue. Okay.
Well, why didn't he just say Gan Eden then, if he was referring to the other?
Well. Now we're getting ahead because of the sneak peek that I told you. But let's wait. Okay. While we're on the topic, because we mentioned Eliyahu, and we mentioned this, so I was going to say this later, but it's very, very important to know that in a practical level, right? Remember, Gan Eden was a manifestation of the mitzvot and the Torah, the beautiful flora of those lights.
Mm.
And Adam Rishon is made out of Adama, and he's put in a gan with it that yields forth these beautiful lights, to know that he himself is made up of the same stuff, and he's meant to produce those lights in terms of the avoda of his mitzvot and masin tovim, right? Now, the Gra, the Vilna Gaon says in a book called Even Shlema, which is a collection of some of his works. I don't think it's directly from him. I think it's from one of his Talmidim, maybe the Shkalever. He says that Torah is compared to Mayim all the time in Chazal. And he says that Mayim has the ability to make things grow. And he says that don't expect, when you learn Torah, that it automatically refines you, but rather, if you don't uproot the weeds that you have in yourself, those midot ra'ot, then by just infusing your being with water, you're strengthening those bad midot too. And if you don't do corrective work in the garden, you don't prune the bushes and you don't pull out the weeds, those parasitic growths are going to destroy the garden because you're just giving it more vitality. So, the Briskers don't believe this. There's a midrash on Eicha that says, if only God laments, if only Am Yisrael had left me, but they did not leave my Torah. And Chazal say, because if they would have stayed with learning of Torah, the Or Sheba, the light inside, would be machzir lemutav, it would have returned them to good. So here's the point. The point is that noting from the Gra says that in a post Adam Rishon eating from the tree world where we're all been corrupted, God give us a Torah to correct ourselves. But even in our engagement in Torah, it's not enough, because Torah by itself is just vitamins for all the bad things inside of you. You need tikkun hamidot, and those nasty thorns and thistles that grow is from the cursed earth that was cursed because of the eating. That's also the earth inside you. And those thorns and thistles that grow, you need to uproot them. You need to weed out the weeds of your bad midot in tandem with learning Torah. A Talmid Chacham is not somebody who has a lot of Torah information outside of them at his disposal. He's somebody who is built through the Torah. He's a product of the Torah he learns. And that means that with the Torah that we learn, it has to be done in tandem with this plowing the field and clearing the path and taking out these weeds. And that means that it's the approach to Torah. It's the Kedusha and the understanding that Torah is a function of, it's really a union with God. And by making yourself a vessel that approaches it with more purity and more holiness, and by trying to mirror God, right, that allows you to hold more light and to shine more light of Torah. So the thistles here that grow, I'm just pointing out that there's a parallel also to the Adam and the Adama. Okay? So now, this was just stuff on the outside. The main meat and potatoes of these ideas we're going to see inside the Alshech HaKadosh. What are we doing for time?
Let's just finish this.
Okay. So, regarding the earth being now above him, initially man was supposed to have superiority over the earth, and the earth was meant to serve him, and it was meant to create all these beautiful things. Everything that he needed to eat was without any of his own work. In fact, there's a chazal that say that the pastries, not just, we're used to nature that produces the raw material to create pastries, but pastries themselves, you would have cheese danishes and apple strudel growing directly from the bushes and trees. Gluskot yafot, beautiful sweet rolls in the language of the chazal. Okay, so here. That the earth itself was meant to produce by itself automatically all that Adam needed to eat without any labor. And like the saying of Rabbi Pinchas in the Medrash, on the third day it says that the earth produced desha is grass or like a covering growth, Esev, the grasses, Mazria Zera, and that which had seeds to be planted, Ve'etz osa pri, and trees that made fruit. But it didn't say Eitz peri osa pri, like the command. Shelo haya eitz shelo haya osa pri. There was not one, but he says, Rabbi Pinchas says this was a good thing. He says there was not one tree, including the lumber trees and the shade trees, that did not produce fruit. Afilu ilanei srak, even trees that are not trees for food, right? V'chein amru zal bebereshit rabbah, meaning initially the earth produced in abundance automatically all those things that man needed from itself. Okay? So, and also, Chazal say in Bereshit rabbah, ki haya pisat bar ba'aretz. Pisat bar is a phrase from Tehillim in Kapitel Ayin Beis, which means a blessing of bread from the earth. Meaning, there's different mafarshim, they say that you could plant, the verse says that you could plant in abundance bushels of seeds even on mountaintops. And there would be such a blessing that it would sprout forth and grow. So Pisat Bar here means like a blessing that even the things that we associate, the places and the geological aspects of the earth that are not good for growing things would grow fantastic, blessed yields in abundance. Okay, so Chazal say that there was a pisat bar ba'aretz, ki kemosha aretz totzi zeru'eha hanechalim kemosha, and just like the earth would release all that grew from it, or even the seeds that are eaten the way they are, or things that have seeds in them, right, in order to plant them, shehen, tamar v'tapuach, like the date and the apple, also the bread would be produced forth on the tree, just like it was. Moshe Amruzal, just like Chazal also say in another place in Bereshit Rabbah, my lefet. So there is a vegetable in Hebrew called a lefet. A lefet is a parsnip, I believe. Kilomar lo pat. The word lefet, the name in Lashon HaKodesh, is a contraction of the words, it's not bread. Lefet is lo pat, it's not bread. Hayal derech ha'atid lavo. Right? For it was named this way because of the future, Shiyeh pisat bar ba'aretz, that there will be an abundance of bread directly growing from the earth. Okay? So, meaning klal hadvar.
Hard to imagine
that
it would be growing from the earth. Bread would be growing from the earth.
I think we lost the video.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, one moment please. I think we may have had technical difficulties.
Okay.
I'm going to check what happened. I'm not the technical guy. Okay. Okay, we lost the stream. Okay. All right, so I think that we will pause here just to note that we're setting up here the difference between what the blessed state of the earth was intended to be initially in its relationship with Adam in his primal superior state, and now ultimately the contrast. Okay? Okay, we're going to call it a day for now. Baruch Hashem, Le'olam, Amen, B'Yamein.